Want to learn a little bit about Cleopatra's half-sister? Let's talk about this recent Egypt news. Also, trigger warning for skeletalized human remains. You might be thinking, this doesn't look like Egypt, and you'd be right. This is Ephesus in Turkey. During excavations in 1929 of this building, specifically called the Octagon, a well-preserved skeleton was found in a sarcophagus. Now, at the time, they only took out the skull and one of the bones before eventually, unfortunately, this entire area flooded and the rest of the human remains were lost. But because of how that building looked and how it had a lot of similarities to Egyptian architecture during the Ptolemaic period, early scholars believed that this might be the body and burial of Arsinoe IV, daughter of Ptolemy II, and the younger half-sister of Cleopatra VII. Well, a group from Austria and Portugal did research and investigated this skeleton, and it turns out none of it is true. Using modern DNA analysis on this skull, they discovered that it is actually of an 11 to 14-year-old boy with recent ancestors in the Italian peninsula or Sardinia, not a 20-year-old woman as a member of the Macedonian Greek Ptolemaic dynasty. Now, after looking deeper into the full academic article, which you can read for free on nature.com, it is so obvious to me that they had no evidence to really say that this was Arsinoe IV. They really were trying to pull something because they noticed that this was, in comparison to the rest of the necropolis, this was of a notable person, and so that this supposed skull would have been for somebody very notable. I mean, this does raise a lot of questions. Who was this 11 to 14-year-old boy who was buried in a relatively well-off tomb? In addition, they also dated the cranium and dated the person to living sometime in between 205 and 36 BCE, which actually falls very close to when Arsinoe IV lived. She was killed in 41 BCE in Ephesus. So I think that is also why they are kind of leaning towards this, is that, if you don't know, she was probably assassinated at the order of Cleopatra VII and of Mark Antony because of her threat to potentially take over the Egyptian throne, and she did die in Turkey. And so I do understand the leap that they made, but looking at it in deeper and looking at who was the archaeologist in 1929, they could literally say whatever they wanted about these cases.